Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. What's up, Island Child Creations? All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let me pull up a couple of things first. ForexFactory.com for scheduled news, as well as um, Truth Social to keep an eye on what the president has tweeted recently and might tweet here before the session opens. So let's see here. All right, so a couple of things on the agenda today. I want to talk about a tool that I created that will help you calculate your stop loss before you enter a trade. So I think that's really easy because I think the way it's set up currently in the different brokerage systems, I think it's a little confusing to be able to quickly calculate your risk level. So I want to be able to demo that tool today and then let you all see. And if you want it, then I'll share it. It's totally free. So just let me know. All right. So let me take a quick peek at what the president might have tweeted here in the last couple of hours. Let's see. Why is it ABC? Da da da. To the world's okay. That's nothing. Despite very high popularity and according to da da da, President ABC. All right, that's nothing as well. To appoint judges and U.S. attorneys, but that right has been completely taken away from me in states that have just one Democrat, United States Senator. This is because of an old, outdated custom known as blue slip. Man, oh man! All right, so I don't see anything so far from any tweets from the president. Let's see. Nothing that I believe would move the market today. So let's take a look at forexfactory.com, forexfactory.com for scheduled news. And let's see, we had scheduled orange folder news at 3 a.m. We have more scheduled orange folder news at 9 a.m., but I don't believe this will have any impact on the market today. This is for new home sales, so we can ignore that. Let's see, but nothing else. So pretty clear for the rest of the day. All right, now let's take a look at, I want to do a quick recap for the month of August. Let me pull up my trade journal. Okay. All right, so taking a look at my trade journal so far, the P&L since the latter part of April is $14,415. You can see that my average win amount is $462. My average loss amount is $447. So I try to keep my losses within that range. So I don't want to exceed $447. That's where I try to keep it within that limit. And my win rate. So this is my total wins versus total losses, currently sitting at 59% and 41% for losses. All right. So total wins, 95, total losses, 66. This is right in line with the strategy that I use, which is described as the break and retest strategy. That strategy has an inherent win rate of 60%. All right. So 60% is the win rate for the break and retest strategy. That simply means for every 6 out of 10 trades, you should be green. Every 6 out of 10 trades, you should be green. Okay. All right, so let's see here. Now, I want you to take a quick peek at my equity curve. Let me switch over to the Stat Center here, so you all can take a look at my equity curve. Now, I want you to see that in the latter part of April, this is what's key. In the latter part of April, just to do a quick recap, This is when I began fully focusing my attention on learning the break and retest strategy from my mentor, Scarface Trades. And as you could quickly see, I was, let me zoom in just a little bit more so y'all can see this. So as you can see, started out really well, $100, 300, 1,000, and so forth. As I was learning, though, I was making, certain mistakes that caused me to lose money. Right, that's part of the game. You're gonna have losses, but you're also going to have losses as a result of your learning curve. Okay, so as I was learning, I was making a couple of mistakes. My drawdown was as high as 3.4K. So you can see here 3.3K. Um, and this was in May the 8th. So this was during that May period. So May, I was down 3.3 and tried to recover. I tried to recover. I was doing a good job. By May 19th, I was back in the positive 171, $171 in the positive by May 19th. But then May 21st, I was down 3.2K. And then later that month in May, I was down 3.4K total, 3.4K total. All right. So as you can see from this equity curve, I've started to make adjustments. My mentor, they host these Q&As every end of the week. Plus, within their community, you can ask all sorts of questions. So this was really helpful during this period. I was able to learn a great deal and turn things around. So, I mean, it was really great to have that as a resource. So since the start of June, check this out. Since the start of June, started back in the positive, 184, and then I just kind of took off from there. Right, big win, 4,000, and then you can just see the equity curve just beginning to increase from there. So all the way up to current or present day, which is August. All right, so August the 21st. So currently sitting at 14.4K, 14.4K. All right, so doing a very, very nice job keeping my sticking to the strategy, obeying the rules, and obeying my stop loss limit. All right, so I want to talk about a couple of things today. What's up, LJ? Appreciate everyone. Thanks for everyone for joining today. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the live chat right now, and I'll pause really quick if you have any questions whatsoever. If not, I'll go ahead and proceed. All right, so I want to talk about a couple of things. Last week, last week was crazy. Last week was crazy. I did have a red week for the week for last week. Negative $992. Negative $992. As you can see, here's the trades that I took last week. Let me zoom in. Two trades on the 22nd for positive 435. Two trades on the 21st, totaling negative 2,000. This was my one AMD trade, my one AMD swing trade that didn't work out. So coming into this week, I was up $7,000. My goal for the month was simply 3 to 4,000, 3 to 4,000, and I was up 7,000. So I decided to risk 2K of the $7,000 that I had gained so far for the month of August. And unfortunately, that swing trade did not work out because of news with tariffs. And so the tech stocks for this week just sank. All right. They just sunk a great deal across the entire sector. All right. All tech stocks are just falling. And so, yeah, this trade didn't work out. So I lost 2,000 early in the week. Two trades, $223. The 19th, 1.2K, just one trade, and then three trades on the 18th, still totaling a negative $919. And like I said, for the week, down $992. So 5 green trades, 5 red trades, but ultimately ending that last week in the red. So coming into this week, like I said, if I take a look at just this month alone, just this month. All right, for this month alone, I'm up I don't know if you can see that. Well, let me switch views. So for just this month alone, all right, I'm up 5.5K. So I'm still in the green just this month, 5.5K. I've already surpassed my goal of 3 to 4K. So I'm already there. I'm already at my goal and then some. So 5.5K is my monthly gains for this month. So I'm going to focus on closing this month out strong. This is the last week. This is the last week. So I'm just going to take it slowly and be careful. Look for A+ setups. And then just, like I said, just close out the month strongly. So I might end up making, another $500 to $1,500 or more. Just depends. Let's see. So now I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this tool that I just created to help people calculate the stop loss and pre-plan your stop loss limit before you even enter a trade. So I want to talk about that briefly. Give me a second to pull it up, and then let me log into Thinkorswim as well. And while I'm logging into Thinkorswim, if you all have any questions, just drop them in the live chat, and I can answer them right now. So I hope if you've been following my live for some time, like this month, I hope everyone has been tracking their trades in their journal, because it's, like I said, it's been very, very helpful for me to understand how I'm performing overall and to make the necessary adjustments when appropriate. All right, so this. Okay, so I'm logging into Thinkorswim now. Let me pull up this tool so I can demonstrate it, demo it really quick. What's up, Cozy? You said, what is the tracking software you're using? So I'm using Stunk Journal. Stunk Journal. Let me type it in the chat for you. Stunkjournal.com is the, and this is a free tool. All right, cool. So now that I have this up, let's see, did it? Okay, so give me a second. I'm pulling up this tool here. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see this clearly. Let me pull this over. Let me know if this isn't clear enough for you all on TikTok. Okay, so hopefully you all should be able to see this clearly on TikTok. So let me pull up Thinkorswim so we can go over this. Okay. All right. You say you can see it, LJ. Appreciate that. Let's see. Do you still have any problems sticking to your stop loss limit? Is it 3%? That's my biggest issue. That's a good question. I still there's certain trades where I decide to risk a little bit more than the actual 3 to 4%. 10% max. I try to stay within 7 to 10% max, but there have been times where I've lost um, more than that. If I go back to my journal and zoom into the losses, um, the swing trade doesn't count because you typically account for zero. So your stop, there's really not a stop loss limit for that if you're swing trading. But let's take a look at this one. This was 41%, almost 42%. This was 31%. These were really small trades. The total entry was $188, right? And I ended up losing $60 of that for a total loss of 31% of that position. And then this was a small trade as well, $208 for a total loss of 87, which net loss was 41, almost 42%. So I have been risking a little bit more than the 10% max that I'd like to stick to. And the reason for that is because of the entries. My entries were either a little late or based on technical analysis, I believe that the stock would recover. And so I gave it a little bit more breathing room. And so I'm trying to decide if I should have a more strict stop loss limit for those particular trades, right? You've performed your technical analysis and you feel like it's right around that, those key levels, and you want to give it a little bit of breathing room. You don't want to get stopped out of the trade based on a wick, right, of the candle. And so sometimes we might get wicked into our stop loss limit, but then the stock ends up quickly recovering, gradually from that point, and does some sort of reversal. But yeah, I've been trying to determine if I should. This is why it's important to log your trades, and so you can see, is it affecting your overall win rate? And so my answer to your question specifically, LJ, is what I'm taking a look at specifically is the data in my trade journal. If you look at the month of August, for me, my win rate is 68% and my loss rate is 32%. And so I'm still net positive. And so now if my stop loss limit was pushing me further and further into the red versus further and further into the green, then I would, I'd have to make an immediate, change in my strategy and stick, more strictly to the stop loss limit. But because of so far the way my trades are performing, I'm still in the green and winning. I'm even over the 60% win rate for the break and retest strategy, right? So that's what I've been looking at so far. So yeah, I'm still looking at it closely and just monitoring that just to make sure I'm not superseding, going into the red. So if you're going into the red, then I would say, yeah, it's probably time for a change in your strategy to stick more closely to your stop loss limit. And the second question is, like Scarface says, are you letting your winners, trail? Are you staying longer in your winners? And those will be the two things that I'd look closely at. Let's see. So let me pull up. Okay, cool, nice. Yeah. So let me pull up an example here because this stop loss limit. When I pull up Thinkorswim, and this should be the same in other brokerages as well. So if you pull up, I'm just going to use Tesla for example. The ticker in this case doesn't matter too much, but I'm just going to use Tesla as an example. So let me pull up the option chain. I'm just going to select one of these. Okay, so if I were to look to trade Tesla today, right? And let's say I'm going to choose a delta of 0.40, 0.40. All right. And again, we all remember what the 0.40 is. Is there anyone who don't know how the point or the delta column works in our trades? If not, let me know. I'll go ahead and explain that. But yeah, so let's assume that we're choosing a 0.40 delta contract for Tesla, and the cost for this contract is $605 for just one contract. Skylar says, please explain. Okay, cool. Let me show you really quick. All right, so in your options chain, you will see a column titled Delta, all right, labeled Delta, okay? And the way this column, I'm just going to give you the simple explanation first, and then we could dive deeper much later. But I'm going to give you the simple explanation to help you comprehend how this works. All right, so the Delta column simply means, the way we look at this is a dollar amount. We see 0.73, for example. This represents $73. You simply move the decimal over 2 places to your right. This will give you the whole dollar amount. So as we look at the different deltas in this option chain, 0.75, 0.73, 0.70, and so on, these represent whole dollar amounts. Now, how does this affect our position? Well, whatever delta you choose is the dollar amount you will earn or lose depending on the stock that you're trading, as it moves a dollar in your favor or moves a dollar against your position, right? So, for example, if you're trading Tesla and you get in at $300, if Tesla moves up 301, then you could expect to earn $73. For every dollar move it makes, you'll earn $73. So if you bought one contract, you'll make $73. If you bought two contracts, you'll make 73 times two, right? So, and so on. If you get in at $300 and Tesla moves against your position, meaning it drops in price and your position was toward the upside, right? You were enter a position hoping that price continues to climb higher. If Tesla begins to move against your position and drop to 299, then you will lose $73, okay, from your position. So if your total position in this case, I'm just going to use a nice round number. I'm going to ignore this number. So let's assume the cost of this contract was $300. If the stock moved against your position $1, then you lose $73 from the $300, which will put you at $223 or $27, right? And if it moved in your favor, then you would be up $73. So your total value, the total value of your position would be $373. So hopefully that makes sense. Tony says, are you trading options? Yes, I'm trading stock options. I am. So wait, is that the price that moves per dollar of the underlying? Yeah. So, but don't you have to consider theta, rho, gamma, and other Greeks? So the other Greeks, the way I like to explain that is these are just variables. They could either positively impact your position overall, or they can negatively impact your position. There's so many people that like to focus so heavily on those Greeks. But they play very little when you're trading the break and retest strategy. They have very little impact on these types of trades when you're using the break and retest strategy. All right. When you're using the break and retest strategy, when those variables really start to negatively impact your position, is when you're trading 0 days. So for my recommendation, I always recommend that new traders stay away from trading 0-day contracts. And if you're not familiar with that term, 0 days, when you're going into the option chain, simply means the time till expiration. That means, for example, Tesla, if this was Friday, you would notice this would actually say 0 instead of 4. So the Greeks, yeah, they you don't have much time at all to recover if the stock moves against your position. Let's see. Um, People buying in RTH is Logic and Theta Gang eating them alive. LOL. I'm out, bro. I'm taking a look in the market, or probably just selling a Discord. I'm out, bro. I'm taking, huh? I'm wait. I only trade zero DTE, bro. I'm pro, not poor. Thanks. Hey, I'm not exactly sure what did he say? I only trade zero DTE, bro. I'm pro, not poor. Thanks. I'm out, bro. Oh, he's. I guess they feel like I'm trying to sell a course or something. I don't know. I think people. It's. I guess it's just amazing. Like people just. You start with a question, but you still have to continue to do your due diligence and like really, ask the necessary questions to just, get an understanding of what's happening. Like you could simply ask, "Hey, are you selling a course or not?" And I don't think there's anything wrong with traders selling course. I know there's a lot of traders selling courses, and I don't think there's anything wrong with selling something of value, right? If people find value in it, if it offers value, um, and people are able to achieve, to get that value, I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think everyone should have the right to capitalize off their wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Same way as I have the choice to offer this information free of charge. So I think it's everyone's right to do that. Yeah, I think well, you could. I, like I like to. There's no way to control, right? Whether someone's. I see both of your points, Susanna and LJ. People will come in and probably troll and things of that nature, but I think it provides an opportunity to kind of um, to address these issues. Like um, professionally. Um, so yeah, I think those are fair points. People are pretty upset or disappointed with the number of people, requiring people to pay for these courses. But I think it's more frustrating if you're paying for something and you're not getting the value that you expect. But anyway, yeah, he could have been just trolling. But yeah, so let's see. So if you're buying, so back to the explanation. So if we're looking at a Tesla trade, and let's see, where was I? So if we chose a 0.40 delta contract, 0.40 delta contract, and the cost of that one contract is $605. What we want to do is to better understand, if I were to click on this, oops, let me erase these two. All right, so assuming I want to trade Tesla, and this is the option contract that I'm interested in, right? So $605 is the cost, 0.40 is the delta. So hopefully you all can see this on my screen. All right, now I'm logged into the web application, Thinkorswim web application. This looks a little different and functions differently on the desktop application as well as the mobile application. All right, so just keep that in mind. But if you're logged into Thinkorswim, for example, or your whatever brokerage account um, in the web browser, all right, this is what I wanted to show. This is what I wanted to demo. So here in this field, you have what's called the um, mark. You just see this number, right? 6.05. And off to the left here, let me zoom in. You see this bid and ask like meter, and you have 6.00 and then 6.05. This number here will be somewhere in between these two numbers here, the bid and the ask. Okay. This number in this field will be somewhere in between these two. Okay. Now, and you will notice as if you pull this up during when the market is open, this number will not stay the same. It will be adjusting, fluctuating. All right. It will be fluctuating. Um, as numbers are moving, right? As the underlying stock is moving in price, okay, fluctuating in price. So this number too will be adjusting. All right. Now, if I'm looking to trade this stock, and I want to stop out of this trade at a particular point, well, I don't necessarily see where I can actually stop out, right? If I want to enter this in when I enter the position, if I want to enter my stop loss systematically, where do I do that? So I'm going to show you two scenarios, right? One is after you enter the trade, then entering your stop loss limit or calculating your stop loss limit so that you can enter the stop loss limit. And then second is entering both of those in systematically at the same time, right? So if I'm looking to take a market order for this particular trade and I want to stop out of the trade, I want to enter this in systematically, right? If I have this OCO, which is one cancels out the other, right? Or you can do there's other ways to set it up, but I'm just going to focus on this OCO right now. All right, so here you can see the stop 605. Now, how do I calculate this? This is the question. If the underlying is 338, right? We're pretending like the market is open right now. Obviously, the market isn't open, but the price is still moving in the pre-market as well. So if we're looking to trade this, pretending that this is the live market session, right? And we're looking to trade this particular stock, the price is moving, it's fluctuating. Currently, it's sitting at 338. Well, what does this number have to do with my stop loss limit, right? How do I determine if if the price is at 338 and my delta is 0.40, remember that's if the stock moves against me, then I'm going to lose $40. If I only want to lose $40 for this particular trade, or not even $40. Let's say I only want to lose $20. I don't care that my delta is 0.40. I don't even want to wait for $1 move against my position. I only want to, risk half of that amount. So just 20 bucks. But how do I calculate that? How do I interpret this information on this screen? Because I don't see this number. And the only thing I see is this number. What does this number have to do with the underlying price, right? So that's why I decided to create this stop loss calculator. And I did look to see if there were stop loss calculators online free before creating this, and I didn't see any. Now, if you all, do a Google search or whatever, and if you end up coming across one, great. But I didn't see any, so I decided to work with ChatGPT to create this stop loss calculator. So let's go over it really quickly. All right. So all you have to do is input the number of contracts and whatever the mark price is and the total dollar amount or percentage of your position that you want to risk. Okay. So I just created this tool. FYI, I haven't tested it out yet. So I'm demoing this live in real time because I was really excited about this. So I was like, let me just go ahead and create the script, work with ChatGPT, create this tool. So I did that. It printed out this formula, so I added it to this Google Doc, And now we can test it out, right? We could just do it like a quick trial run. And then I could just simply share this link for this Google Doc to you, and you can share it with whomever, right? So it's free. All right, so let's check it out. Now, if we were looking to trade just one contract, so we'll put in one contract here. And the mark price is currently 605, right? 605. That's what we were looking at here. All right, so just to make sure everyone is following along. The mark price, for those of you who don't know what the mark price is, the mark price, you will end up seeing this. Let me see if I have an example. I think it'll show for an existing trade. If I switch to position, do I have that? No, I don't. Okay, so I don't have it here. I thought they had the mark price. Hold on, let me double check and make sure it's not in this column. Oh, we do have it. All right, so let me add the mark. So let me add the mark in here. I just clicked on it to add it to the left column here. So let's go ahead and X out of this. All right, so here's your mark. So you can see the mark price is changing, right? You can see the mark price changing here. So whatever the mark is simply the price between the bid and the ask, whatever it was at that particular time, right? The bid and the ask. Now, when we're looking at this particular contract, right, this options contract, the current mark price for Tesla is 6.05. So it will always be between the bid and the ask price, okay? The bid and the ask. All right, now take a look at this. So we have the mark price. Now, how much do we want to risk? Oops, let me pull this back over here. How much do we want to risk? Do we want to risk a dollar amount or percentage? Dollar amount or percentage. So you could choose which one is easier for you. All right. So if I choose dollar amount, what was the contract price? Remember, the contract price was $605. $605, right? So now, what is the total risk? What is the total risk that I want to lose? And if I said $20 is it, $20 is it. All right. So of my $605 position, I'm only interested in losing $20. So how do I calculate that? So now that we entered in that data, it's going to automatically calculate that down here in the output section. All right. So based on the selected risk method, your final stop is 5.85, 5.85. So this number is the number that you would enter to only risk $20. To only risk $20. This is the number that you would input. So we would go here, and for the stop, you would enter 5.85. Okay. This is to me. Now, when I find an easier way to do this, I'll let you all know. But this is to me the easiest way to systematically enter in your stop loss limit so that you can set it and forget it. All right. So if you got to go to work, if you got errands to run, you got things to do, you can simply just set it and forget it and know that you're protected. Okay. Any questions about that so far? Any questions about that so far? So, because I was like, how else do I calculate the mark price as it relates to my position and the underlying stock, right? It would be easier if the underlying was like, hey, 338, and then it says, well, how much do you want to lose? Well, I only want to lose $20 from, 330, or, from this position or whatever. Or if it was just looking at my overall position of 605 and it's like, all right, so how much of that do you want to lose? So 585 is what I would calculate. Okay. Now, this number, like I said, this number is always going to be fluctuating. So you just want to keep an eye out on this. Just pay very close attention because it's always going to be fluctuating. So this contract price of 605 could jump, to 620 or whatever. So when you're calculating, just keep that in mind. Let's see. Now, this also works the same because I'm not currently in that prompt window. Let me exit this window here. I'm going to exit this window. I'm going to jump over to the existing positions that I have running. And I'm just going to take this Tesla contract, for example, that's currently running, right? It expires September 19th. So in 25 days. So I'm just going to click on this. Okay, so now that it's checked, I'm going to click on close selected. And now, so I didn't enter a stop loss. at this time. But if I wanted to enter a stop loss right now, I could do that, right? So right now, if I'm just looking at the specs on this particular contract, right now, where is the cost of this contract was 30,000. The cost of this position of these 20 contract was 30,000. It's currently, hold on, let me zoom in so you all can see this clearly. So you can see what I'm looking at exactly. So the cost of this position was 30,000. The net liquid so far is 35,000, a little over 35,000, right? So we've gained $5,000, over $5,000. So I wanted to pick this just so we could see, different examples in this case. So the mark price currently is 1755. 1755. Now notice in the first example, that mark price was the same as the one contract, right? It was 605, 605. So you could, it's like, okay, so $20 from it, 585. Cool, great. But what about this example? All right, the mark right here is 1755. So if we look at this one, 1750, right? We've already made $5,000 for this overall position. Where do we go? Like, how do we calculate that amount in this case? Because if I do a stop, because remember, we have several options, right? We could do a stop or a trail stop. But if I were to do a stop limit on this particular position, how do I calculate that? Right? How do I know how much I'm willing to lose? I'm already up a significant amount of money. So where do I go from here? And that's why you can see the benefit of having the ability to quickly calculate that. So I'm going to do that here. The number of contracts for this position was 20. The mark price is 1755, was it? 1755, if I remember. Yep, 1755. And of the $5,000, let's say I only want to lose, let's do $750. And then we can look at the example for percentage as well. So 750. Now, if I scroll down, if I scroll down, you can see here the final stop price is 1717. 1717. So this is the number that I would enter here, 1717. Okay. Can you all see that? Oops. So from 1755, the number I would enter here for this stop, hard stop on this position is 1717. Okay. And this would give me a stop of $750. $750. Okay. So, any questions on this? Any questions on this tool? You could try it out. Like I said, it's free to use. There's no fee whatsoever. Like I said, I just created this, so I haven't tried it out myself. So I don't know if there's any bugs or not, right? So right now, everything is working as expected. Okay. Everything is working as expected. Um, but if there is an issue, if you run across any issues, like I said, I could quickly fix it. So no problem. All right. So the tool is available in Google Docs. All right. So if you're interested in that, just let me know. Any questions whatsoever? All right. So today, remember, we have the live session with Scarface and Jack. We have the live session coming up with Scarface and Jack at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. So what I could do is, if you all don't have any questions, we could. I'm going to go over my Tesla, what I'm looking at for Tesla, and then after that we can conclude this session because that only take me like 5 to 7 minutes to go over that. So yeah, I'll go over my test, what I'm looking at for Tesla coming into today. And then if you all have any questions, I can answer that. And then we could resume the next live when it's time for Scarface to go live, right? All right, so let's take a look quickly at Tesla here today. All right, let me switch over to Tesla. All right, so I took man, look at this. I'm on the daily time frame. I'm on the daily time frame looking at Tesla right now. All right, so let's take a look at the higher time frames and then we'll zoom in. So as I'm looking at Tesla, what I see so far is just looking at this context, we made a nice push higher on Friday. So I was really, really excited to be in that trade, took a low risk trade Friday. 0.2, I think 0.26 delta contract. My total risk was only $315, and I ended up making 90% return on that investment. So $290 for that particular trade. $290 was the gain on that. So now, look, I want you to see that. Take a look at this. I don't know if I can zoom in a little bit for this. Okay. All right, so I have a couple of key levels here. Let me activate my drawing tool so you all can see this. So this line, this key level that I have marked out is 334. Let's just call it 335 because it's 334.99. So 335. This is a key resistance level. Okay, key resistance level. Tesla attempted to break above this level several times, right? Several times and failed. Okay. Recently, the as of the 11th of August, we broke above this key resistance level, right? Broke above it and then rejected off of another key level that I have marked out at 347.16. This is the key level that I marked out from the monthly time frame, okay? So 347.16 is the key resistance level that I marked out here. And we rejected off of this key level, right? And pushed lower. So sellers stepped in aggressively, pushed the price all the way down to below 320. Okay. So we fell back below this key resistance level. But notice within this context, we had this up close candle here. We actually closed on the what is this? The 18th of August, we closed above this key resistance level. The following day, buyers tried to step in and push the price higher, you can see, which is indicated by the wick of this candle here. We pushed as high as 340 and change, but sellers continued to step in aggressively this same day to push the price lower, well below that key level of resistance, right? And then we just continued lower, right? So we stayed heavy all the way to a little below 320. Then Friday came. So this week, the news broke, right? The news broke. We were pretty much waiting for this Fed Powell, Fed Chair Powell to speak and see what he had to say about the current economic state, and also to wait and see what Trump had to say after Fed Powell spoke, right? After that, prices skyrocketed, right? Across all the tech that I've seen so far, right? Everything was in the green. There was a huge spike, which is why I ended up netting over 90% return on that one 0.26 delta contract, right? So I was pretty excited about that. Low risk, high reward position. So that was pretty cool. So we pushed, man, this was, look how much money this was. This was from 319 all the way up to 340. 340, man, that's a $20 move. Just imagine if you was in a swing trade. And I tried to, I didn't get into a swing position during this day because price moved so quickly. I didn't get a chance to get in it. By the time I was looking to get into it, I felt like it was too late, and I felt like I was going to be chasing price, so I decided not to. But where are we currently? Well, after this push higher Friday, we are above, again, this key level of resistance. And I marked out on the daily time frame. Here's another key level of resistance, right? So I had this marked out the beginning of August. So these key levels were marked out using last month's activity. Okay, last month's activity. Okay, so I already had these levels drawn out using July's performance for Tesla. Now, we've closed not only above this key resistance level, but also above the daily resistance level. So these two key levels, we've closed above this, and we are significantly, this was a strong close. You can see this was a nice, strong bullish candle from Friday. And if we drill down to the 1 minute time frame and look at the pre-market activity today. Let me stretch this out. Oops. Apologize about that. All right, so in the pre-market, look, this is Friday's What is going on here? Oh, my HDMI cord was coming out. Sorry. I had to adjust that. Okay, so this is Friday's performance for Tesla. I'm on the 1 minute time frame. On the 1 minute time frame, let me activate my drawing tool here. So you can see this is where we opened Friday. Look, this was a significant push higher right after the speech, right after the Fed Powell speech. Boom, big push higher. Some consolidation for the latter part of the day, right? Basically, just a little bit of consolidation, stair step higher, and then into the post-market session, which is this shaded blue area here. Just a little bit of consolidation, slight push higher, but nothing too significant. Into the pre-market today, sellers did step in to push the price lower, but not much. I would box in this activity from the post into the pre, and just look at this as consolidation, right? So we're not pushing too much higher or too much lower, right? So just a little bit of consolidation from this point. So you can see if we box this in right here, you can see just we're within that range, right? Right before we closed, we touched this point, and right before we closed, we touched this point, right? So this was at 238 Central, and this was at 258 Central. All right, so we stayed within that range pretty much, just a little bit of consolidation. Now, in the pre-market, we are right near the previous day high of 340, right near that pre-market level. Okay, excuse me, previous day high level. Okay, we're right there. So again, we're still above the key level of resistance that I marked out on the higher time frames. So these are those two key levels, right? The daily and the this key resistance level here. Now we're right near the previous day high. So what I'll be checking for is the reaction off of the previous day high of 339.09. 339.09 is the previous day high. Okay. So if I get rid of this tool and draw this out here, here's what I'll be looking for. I'd expect a push higher right at the open. And what I'd like to see is a retest back towards 339.09. Okay, back towards 339.09. And then once I see buyers step in aggressively at this point, let me zoom in so you all can see this, stretch it out. So once I see buyers step in at this point, right, this is what I would look to enter for today's trade. Okay, and I would mark out this point right here, and this will be considered high of day, high of day. So right at the open, I expect us to push higher, and what I'd like to see is a retest back towards 339. So a slight pullback towards this area. It doesn't have to tap it exactly, but I would like to see a retest or pullback near 339.09. And I'd like to see buyers step in aggressively to begin pushing this price higher. And that will be my signal to enter this trade. I'm looking for speed and momentum, speed and momentum. So if that happens, I would look to enter a trade here and look to exit my position at high of day. And if I have multiple contracts, then I will be looking to scale at this level. This will be the first level. And the second level will be the pre-market high of 341.90. So you could call that 341.90 or just round up to 342. Right. So this will be the first level and this will be the second level. Now, if let me erase this. Okay, now if at the open we fall right lower towards the pre-market low, then what I'll be expecting is to see if buyers are going to hold this position. All right, if buyers are going to hold this position and step in aggressively. If we do, okay, I'm not going to just enter a trade once I see buyers step in, even if they step in aggressively. I would like to see a strong push above this daily resistance level of 337.84. 337.84. So I need to see buyers step in with speed, momentum, and close above 337.84 in this scenario. If we do, I'll look to enter position as soon as we break. Let's assume that we broke above this key level and there's like 3 seconds left on this final candle. Then I'll look to get in because that is a strong close. If we break above there this key level and there's like 30 or 40 seconds left, then I'll wait to see if we close or have a strong close above this key level, because that's the key that I'm looking for, because we could have a quick snapback below this key level, and I wouldn't want to enter the trade at that point, because we could continue to stay heavy and even push lower towards that key resistance level of 335. All right, so I'd be looking for a strong close above 337.84, and then I'd look to get in, and I would look to exit my position or scale out at 339.09. This would be considered high of day because we opened from this point and fell lower. All right. So that's what I'd be looking for coming into today. I don't expect, based on the pre-market activity, I don't expect us to continue to drop below to retest this key resistance level because we already did so several times Friday, right? We pushed above higher and we used this key resistance level as support to continue higher, right? Even when we fell and had this pullback here, buyers were showing that they were willing to step in and continue to push the price higher. And I see several, look at how many touch points we have here on this daily key level here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times we use this as support to continue to push higher. Again, we're still consolidating, so we're not out of the clear, but this is a nice sign. We're currently above the previous day high, so I don't expect a dramatic fall towards 335, all right, which is this key level here. But I do expect I would be okay with the retest at this pre-market low for a push higher. Or, like I said, the first scenario, strong push above the previous day open, or excuse me, previous day high at the open for retest back to this key level of 339.40. All right. So with that said, that would complete today's pre-market prep for Tesla. Taking a look at the overall market really quick, I just want to take a peek at Qs and SPY. Let me reset this. Okay, Qs, we did gap down and fell. Let's see. So we're currently sitting at 570. After that big push higher on Friday. So let me look at SPY really quick here as well. Okay, so same thing for SPY. Wow. All right, so we're gonna have to take a look at. Just keep this in mind. If you're looking to trade any of the tech stocks today, Tesla, I would just keep a close eye on SPY and QQQ because we are below the previous day high for Qs and SPY, but this to me is that key level, right? You can see we had a tap here twice in the Friday session. Okay, so this key level here, which is also the pre-market low of 343.13, that's what I'm saying. So to me, I'm feeling confident that the ETFs or the indices will push higher today. This is a nice, to me, we touched what 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 4 times this key level. So if you include Friday session as well, same thing. So twice, 4 times in the pre-market. So buyers apparently are holding this level so far. So I expect to push higher for SPY as well as Qs. Let's take a quick peek at Qs again. Hold on, because Qs was lower. Yeah, Qs is a bit lower. We had a few touch points here on Friday session at this level. We're currently above 570.09 right now. Oh, no, actually we're at 570.02. 570.02. So this is to me the key level I would like to see held. All right, so this pre-market low, if we fall below the pre-market low, then yeah, I'd wait to see a reclaim for the pre-market low back towards the pre-market high. So I'll keep a close eye on Qs and SPY, and before I enter my trade for Tesla. But if Tesla shows that, like I said, if Tesla demonstrates, that relative strength with speed and momentum above those key levels, then I'll still take that risk. I'll take that risk, even if Qs is trending the opposite direction. So with that said, I'm going to close this session. We'll resume at in the next 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Unless you all have any questions. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions? If not, I'll see you all at 8:25. 8:25. All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you all.